One thing that I absolutely hate about BP stations is the diesel pump is black handle and the gasoline pump is the green handle, which is completely backward from every other fuel station out there. So if you got a diesel truck and you pull into a BP station, you got to be really careful and pay attention to what you're doing. So today's project is I got to get my son's Honda TRX250X going again. The shifter, the splines on the shifter that hold it to the shaft going into the transmission stripped out, and so the shifter is just flopping around. So I had to come down here to Floyd Cycles in Danville, Kentucky to pick up some parts. But when I went in there, it was crazy. I mean, this dealership, they've been here for about 40 years. Back in the mid 1980s, when I was a boy, my dad came down here and bought me my first ATV. I mean, they've been here forever. I have never seen the showroom the way that it looks right now. They've got two TRX250s in there, like the one that my son has. They've got two of those sitting in here. They've got a motorcycle sitting in there. And I think they have one Honda Pioneer. And that's it. The whole showroom is literally an empty floor. It's just crazy. I've never seen it like that before in the whole 40 years they've been here. And so the salesman said he's never seen it like this either. I mean, we're living in some crazy times right now. Hopefully it'll get better this year. But yeah, I got a new shifter, and I went ahead and got a new little rubber, I don't even know what you call that thing, little rubber piece, rubber boot, whatever, that slides over the shifter. And they went ahead and gave me a new bolt to put in there too, because he said usually what happens is the bolts end up stripping out too, and I kind of did notice that on the one that we've got. So I went ahead and got all those. It wasn't too bad. It's like 35 bucks. So hopefully we'll get this put on and that'll get him going again. So I don't know how well the camera is going to show it. Might be hard to... Yeah, it's going to be kind of hard to see on the camera, but the splines in there kind of stripped out. And thankfully it looks like the shaft is still in pretty good shape down here. I mean, if that strips out, then you've got really big problems, you know, because obviously then you got to start doing some tear down and disassembly. But the splines on the shaft, to me, they look like they're in pretty good shape. So hopefully this new one will fix it and get us going here. So I got my bolt out. That's a 10mm bolt. Next thing I got to do is take the little rubber boot out and pop it on. Looks like everything is exactly the same. This is kind of a harder rubber, so it should just pop right on there. But the guy said sometimes you can put a little lubricant or maybe some WD-40 or something like that on there just to make it a little more slippery, so it'll go on there. But everything looks the same so far, so that's good. All right, so I got it on. Ended up having to use a little bit of a lubricant because it was in fact pretty tough to slide that on there, but it's on there now, so time to put it on. The old one was really hard to get off, even though these splines on these things will strip out, and it'll basically, what happens is it'll flop around. It's still hard to pull it off of the shaft sometimes, so you might have to, you know, what we had to do is get a crowbar in there and kind of use that for some leverage to pull it off. But you want to take that bolt all the way out, and you can get, you know, I'm trying to work with two hands here, it's hard to do, but you can get like a screwdriver or a small crowbar or something and put in here and kind of spread those jaws apart just a little bit, and it'll kind of break the bond, and you know, you can pry it off of there a little bit more easily that way. But yeah, the first time you take this off the shaft, it will fight you. You know, it's a little bit hard to do. Just like I said, just use something for some leverage, and then you can get it off there pretty easy. So at this point, we're just going to hold it up here where we want it. And now that we've got these Nerf bars on there, I think it might be better to put it up a little higher. Before, it was down low like this. I mean, they're kind of like that from the factory. But with the Nerf bars on there, it makes it more difficult to get your foot under there to shift. So I'm going to raise it up just a little bit and slide it on. And I may have to get a little bit of a mallet or hammer to kind of bang that onto the shaft and then put the bolt in there. So I'm gonna have to put the camera down for a minute and work here, but I'll be back in just a moment. All right, so I got it on there where I want it. You can see there's plenty of room there for the, to get your toe up under there to shift. This could be personal preference. Some people might want it lower. Some people might want it higher than this, but that's the great thing about the spline to shaft is you have a little bit of adjustment there. I got the bolt in. Hopefully, it feels pretty tight right now. I'm gonna take it out for a test drive and see. The guy did say, and I had thought about this, he said, if this new one ends up stripping out, one thing you can do is you could come in here and put a little tack weld on here, and that way it'll hold it more solid and give you more time before you, because you don't want to have to disassemble all this stuff, and start tearing, parts and engines and gearboxes down here. So in order to buy yourself more time, you could put some tack welds on there. And, because at that point, really, what do you have to lose, right? So if you tack weld it, it'll buy you time. And then whenever it gets to the point where it's so bad that you have to, then you could always cut it, cut your tack weld and pull it off if you had to or whatever. But I think that might be plan C. This is plan B, putting a new one on here. And then if we have problems, we might try that, might put a little tack weld on it. But it feels tight, I think it'll work just fine. And it was a pretty easy fix, and it wasn't real expensive, which is the nice thing about it. So hopefully that'll help somebody out, if you've got one of these machines. This is a 2017 model here. It's been a pretty good machine, actually, but over time, a lot of banging of the gears, those things can strip out and give you some issues. So if you got a problem, you might want to try that. Now let me see if I can show you part numbers. This is for the actual shaft, and then I had this one here was for the that rubber piece. This one was for that rubber piece that we stuck on there, and the one for the bolt, I'll have to go up to the garage and show you what the bolt part number is. All right, and here was the number for that little bolt, that little 10mm bolt. So those three parts should be all you need to get the shifter going again on your TRX250X, and hopefully this will last for a while, but we will see. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll talk to you later.